This may look like raw land, but pretty soon it's gonna actually look like this right above me. I bought this cabin for $60,000 and we're putting about $50,000 into the amenities and utilities around it. But the best part is I expect it to gross revenue the first year between $90,000 and $100,000. How are we gonna do it? Let's talk about it on today's episode of Bigger Stays. Hey everyone, my name is Garrett Brown. I'm the resident Bigger Pockets STR expert, and I have a portfolio of short-term rentals that gross almost $1 million every single year. Now, I'm super excited to be adding this new one to one of my flagship glamping sites near Houston, Texas. And I'm gonna break down exactly how I'm doing it, how I know the numbers are gonna work, and how I've made this land that I'm sitting on right now triple in value in a few years. If you like this type of content, please subscribe, like, comment, all that stuff you hear on YouTube all the time, because it really does help me know if this is the stuff you want me to make content on, or if there's other things like marketing or, different sides of it that is actually more valuable to you. Otherwise, I'm just going off the top of the dome and doing what I think might actually work. But I want to know what you think. Let me know in the comments. The unit should be delivered in about a week. This is a rendering I got off Fiverr. It was a couple $100. I'm working with a company called Nordic and Spruce from Tennessee that's delivering the tiny home. It's gonna be in this back area. We're getting gravel in a couple days to set it on. It's a house that comes on wheels for this. I'll put up a few pictures of what I already have in my glamping portfolio on this particular site. I bought it, there's a house up at the front. I bought this house with 11 acres. I got a 5% owner occupied loan down about 4 years ago. And I lived in the house for the first year while I was building out my geodome, our mirror house, and a few other sites that I was co-hosting and helping out with. Me doing the owner occupied loan means I got a much lower interest rate. I have to live in the property for a year, but putting 5% down instead of 20, 25, 30% down made me be able to build my geodome much easier with the cash I had reserved from it. The geodome we built with utilities and everything for about 100K. It has gross revenued 85K both 2.5 years that it has been open. We also then tied into some of the same utilities that we used to build that geodome to do our first mirror house, which that gross revenued about $115,000 in the first 2 years each year. And this is all from simple raw land. When I bought this property 4 years ago, it was worth about $550 at the time. The house needed a little bit of work, but it was still in good shape. We renovated it a little bit, brought the equity value up there, but then adding all this road infrastructure and utilities and units all around has almost tripled the value in this land. If I wanted to sell my whole business right here, I would sell it as a business, especially with more units that I'm adding. I could probably get in the 1.2 million north of that if I started to put it out on the open market. Now, obviously, when I came into this market, I didn't, there was no geodomes, mirror houses. I'm in a rural market about an hour north of Houston. I used my 60-30-10 rule to know that if this market was even going to be capable of sustaining something like this. It's 60 minutes from a major metro city, Houston, which has millions of people that will travel over here. 30 minutes from some type of regional or national or state attraction, which in this case, I'm by the second largest lake in Texas and one of only 4 national forests in Texas. This means that people have things that they come out here for to travel. Some people, the cool thing about regional and state attractions is that a lot of people visit those almost every single year. National park attractions get a ton of visitors and they are amazing. Bonus points if you can get a good deal there. But most people that travel to some of those don't go every single year. I've had a lot more repeat customers probably than others because I built something sustainable, but I'm also near the major metro that people want to escape to something like this. And then the 10 of my 60-30-10 rule is you just need to be 10 minutes from a gas station, Dollar General, some type of civilization. If you're 30, 45 minutes out from everything, it's gonna be impossible to find cleaners, handy people, subcontractors. Guests are gonna feel weird when they're staying there because they're gonna be a little scared probably. And then if you need supplies, it's very hard to get them there as well. So following that rule, when I first started looking at the competition with my first glamping sites in the area, most of the time they were predicted to make about $30,000 each one. I knew I was going to be able to beat that though, because it was a unique stay. I was going to build an experience and I knew what my guest avatar was. I was going after romantic couple stays. I wasn't trying to market to families or, business travelers, anything else like that. I knew what my target demographic was and I knew what amenities they would want. They want saunas, they want hot tubs, they want privacy. They want the unique Instagrammable features of it, which I thought all of these units delivered. And like I mentioned before, these first 2 units crushed those expectations. We also have the house at the front that I was able to start renting out, and it does actually not as good as the smaller units, but it still makes about $60,000 a year. I knew that this house was gonna basically just cover the mortgage that I had for it, because most places in this area for families, they're going to stay on the actual lake. I have a few properties that I co-host on the lake, and they do amazing because that's usually where families want to go. My main house up front, it does well. It has a nice theme to it. We get quite a few families from our marketing efforts and, you know, residual Airbnb bookings to just cover the mortgage basically. But all of that afterwards makes all the other cabins that we build almost purely profits. Now, this cabin is coming prefab made, like I mentioned, from Nordic and Spruce in Tennessee. It's called a park model actually because it has wheels on it. When they delivered it, it can be set up with the wheels on it. There's a lot of prefab companies that have this option now, or even like my Mirror House, which also has a trailer option. I have a few units in Austin that have the wheels on them. This one doesn't, that I have on the property. That can be dropped by a crane. The really cool thing about the wheel side is if you're trying to figure out how to finance these, those can be financed extremely easily because they're almost financed like an RV. Some of these smaller tiny homes, you might have to build with cash or get a business loan. A few other things I learned down the line that I wish I would have known before. I love my geodome, it does great. I would have built an A-frame or something hard-sided like the Mirror House. That would just be easier maintenance, probably easier to get a loan on, and when you're trying to sell it later on, it's valued at a little bit higher of an asset. But what I'm trying to do with this property and my business in general in about 5 to 10 years is sell it in total. Sell all the assets that I have attached with it and base it off of the net operating income that we're getting. The more units like this one I'm building behind me, the higher the income goes because the expenses tend to kind of spread out and become easier the more units you actually have. So now, because we're not building this from scratch, it's not gonna mess up all my other guests that are staying in. They can drop it, do the construction, especially on days that there's nobody in some of the properties. It's gonna be very easy to make all this happen. We're also building another unit over there next year, a little further in a different part of the property. But when I do that, I think, how can each unit share utilities the best it can? So we just had the electric company put a electric pole right in the middle of both properties. And because I already had electric halfway to the site, it only cost me $700 to hook up this new pole. That pole that the electric company is giving me is going to split out between both of these tiny home units. And so I'll have my electrician trench to this one for now. And then when we get ready to build the next one, he can trench over there and do it, splitting the utility costs. Because that house doesn't rent as much and I have 2 water wells on the property, I'm going to tap into the water well at the front house for one of the tiny homes and then another water well that's down there by my geodome and Mirror House for another tiny home. That way I have a couple different water sources going. If one ever messed up, I'd still have a couple cabins available. You can even tie in the water well systems to make it where there's pretty much always water even if one water well goes out. At the same time too, I have a septic system that is shared between the geodome, the Mirror House, and these next 2 units. I planned that when I built the site to begin with. Cost a little more to build my septic tank from the upfront side, but on the back end, it cost me way less than having to put in small septic tanks everywhere. So now that I have all the utilities basically set up, it's gonna be easy to put in the gravel for the tiny home, do my landscaping right here for all my amenities. I'm gonna have a sauna, hot tub, outdoor cooking area, all the, the LED signs, all the things that I know go constantly viral on Instagram, and then build this basically for Instagram. Once the tiny house gets dropped after the rock, I have my electrician hook up electric to it, hook up water to it. You hook up the septic system and install anything you need to there. And then after that, you can move on to the landscaping side, which is my personal favorite of it. Now, because I've already built out a pretty strong social media presence for all my other properties, it's gonna be easier to market this property and use the 80,000 social media followers I've built up, along with the 5,000 email list that I have because I'm doing so many direct bookings and capturing emails while I'm doing it, to know that this property is becoming available soon. We can give them a VIP discount code, which people love being called a VIP, and do all of our same marketing efforts to hit almost the same type of revenues we know on each single unit. The key thing I still haven't decided yet personally, and I would love some feedback on, is what is going to be the standout feature that I build on the site. I'm gonna have all this cool landscaping like I mentioned, but I wanna spend about $10,000 on some like very viral Instagram worthy thing. I don't, for lack of better words, is it gonna be like a waterfall I build? You know, you see this tree back here, maybe I build a little decking that goes over there and wraps around the tree so that people can stand on the decking while they're looking over this big ravine that I basically have on my land is overlooked. Those are the type of things that are really gonna set this apart and make it go viral almost every time that we post it. If you look at all the viral short-term rental things out there, there's usually one or two main things that they consistently post first in their videos that always gets them to go viral. If you think of something like Outpost X in Utah, where they have the little Star Wars cars that everybody wants to drive, most of their viral videos, the first opening scene is somebody driving the cars. You think of Bolt Farm Treehouse in Tennessee, where they have the new rock spa that looks over the mountains and things. If you look at their most recent viral videos, it starts with that clip. There's usually one major thing that stands out to a viewer that will help you go viral. And we're gonna be banking on the same thing. Now, I'm gonna update you all the way through on this process. Hit subscribe if you haven't, and let me know in the comments what I should cover or if there's any specific questions about this next project. But if you check back almost every week over the next few months, you'll see the progress of it, what I'm doing, and how exactly it's performing as a short-term rental. I appreciate y'all watching all the way through, and I think YouTube wants you to watch one of these videos right here. See you on the next one.